What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside Hartford, Connecticut. And today we're going to be discussing one of the older trades in our trade breakdown series, as we're going to discuss the Manny Ramirez trade, which was a three-team trade with the LA Dodgers, Boston Red Sox, and Pittsburgh Pirates that occurred on the trade deadline date of July 31st, 2008. So obviously the big player involved is Manny Ramirez, and this trade was made for salary cap purposes. So the LA Dodgers would acquire outfielder Manny Ramirez from Boston. Boston would acquire outfielder Jason Bay and infielder Josh Wilson, both from the Pittsburgh Pirates, while Pittsburgh would acquire four players, two of whom, third baseman Andy LaRoche and relief pitcher Bryan Morris, came from LA, while the other two, outfielder first baseman Brandon Moss and relief pitcher Craig Hansen, came from Boston. How did this trade work out for the three teams involved in it? We'll start off with the LA Dodgers. Of course, they're the ones who got Manny Ramirez, and Manny was decent. He had two okay seasons in LA, but he just failed to live up to the hype of his name and the contract that he was getting paid. As for Boston, Jason Bay actually had a pretty good season and a half before he ends up walking in free agency, and Josh Wilson just never played in the big leagues for the Boston Red Sox. Now we get to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh's the team that made it a little more interesting. So Andy LaRoche, he spent 2.5 years in Pittsburgh, and he didn't do all that much in Pittsburgh, obviously, if you look at the WAR. Bryan Morris. So Bryan Morris spent parts of 2 seasons bouncing between AAA and the majors for the team before he gets traded. Now he's traded to the Miami Marlins for a 2014 draft pick, and that draft pick would be the 39th overall selection in the 2014 MLB draft, which the Pittsburgh Pirates used to select utility man Connor Joe. So Connor Joe spent 3 years in the minors before he himself gets traded to the Atlanta Braves in exchange for third baseman outfielder Sean Rodriguez. And Rodriguez was just a decent utility player for a little more than a season before he himself ends up walking. Back to Pittsburgh from the beginning, though, Brandon Moss, he struggled on offense over 2.5 years in Pittsburgh, which included a year in the minors due to his struggles on offense. And Craig Hansen, he struggled in limited plate appearances before a medical condition essentially led to his release. So, and now we'll go back to these two teams here that acquired players from the Marlins, or from the Pirates, and we'll start with the Marlins. That's going to be Bryan Morris. And Bryan Morris, he was decent over parts of 3 seasons for the Marlins before he himself left. And Connor Joe for the Braves, he ends up getting traded for cash consideration, so he never makes it to the big leagues. So all in all, who wins this trade? Boston, getting a 7.2 WAR. LA gets a 6.3 out of Manny, but they had to swallow a big portion of contract money to get him. And the Pirates are the real losers, getting a negative 1.7 WAR out of their players. So, yeah, I mean, Sean Rodriguez was a decent pickup for him at times, but Atlanta gets a 0.0 WAR. Connor Joe never played. And the Marlins get a 2.6 WAR out of their relief pitcher in Bryan Morris. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, this was the Manny Ramirez trade, which occurred on July 31st, 2008. Have a great rest of your day.